and thank you for doing this, man. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. It's always exciting to get stuff like this, especially as like a little indie artist. You're like, ooh, someone wants
Yeah.
to talk to me.
How did your sort of journey into music start then?
Oh God. I mean, I guess it depends how far back you want to go. I started doing music really when I was in college. So my hometown is a small city called Wheeling, West Virginia. And the scene there was very like punk and hardcore. And there just like wasn't a lot of room for non-men on stage. Like it just wasn't really the thing. So I couldn't really see myself on that scene. When I moved about 4 hours away to go to university, it was just completely different. It was like this tiny liberal oasis in a very red state of West Virginia. And there were just like open mic nights, there were like folk bands, ambient bands, like just classic rock and roll. There was just a scene where a lot of different people were making a lot of different kinds of music. Every Wednesday night, there was an open mic night, and I was like, oh, maybe I could get into this. Like maybe there's a place for me here. And within the first year of being at university, I met a bunch of people, met a guy who had just kind of ended his last project. We started something up. So we did like the classic, my first band, college kind of shit, where you're just figuring it out, hoping for the best. Sounded terrible, but we had fun. Um, and then when I was in university, I met my now husband, who is Steph Carter, and he used to be in a band called Gallows,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
which is why I now live in the UK. So we met and did long distance for a while. I finished my degree, moved here, started a couple of bands with him over the years. And, as most of these things happen, lineups change, people move away. Actually, two of my previous bands, my bass players have moved to Canada. So there's something about bass players that just want to move to Canada. So I've started Gigi Gold. Officially, the birth date is like May 2024. So we're just about 2 years old from like the public perspective. But I really started writing for that project 2 years earlier than that. Um, there was an opportunity to get a record deal, and I had a very fortunate in and decided to pursue that. Wrote a bunch of demos, signed a deal, and as most of these things do, they take a while to kind of come into fruition. But we officially started the band 2 years ago and have been going ever since.
Oh, cool. See, growing up in West Virginia, was there any sort of artists that shaped, what sort of artists shaped your
Mm.
music and things?
Funnily enough, the band that I listened to most growing up and is still probably one of my, if not my top all-time desert island band is the Beatles. I grew up listening to the Beatles. I know every word, every song they've ever released and every iteration. So I really grew up listening to that kind of music. I did not really listen to country music. In fact, I hated it for a really long time. I'm still not sort of your like Garth Brooks kind of country, but I have grown to really appreciate folk music, Americana music, things of that ilk as I've gotten older. I used to absolutely hate Country Roads. I hated that song with like
Yeah.
a passion because I was like, I'm gonna move to the big city. Like I'm too cool for this. And now I listen to it and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like crying. It's like I actually released a cover of Country Roads
Yeah, I
last
heard it
year.
today.
Um, yeah, so it was very a full circle moment, and a lot of the music I make is about that kind of nostalgia. But growing up, I listened to a lot of the stuff that was like on the radio, like 90s and 2000s stuff, like the kind of rock scene. It wasn't really until I got into my teenage years where I really, I think, developed my own like taste. I definitely got into some hardcore kind of punk music for a while. Um, but I also was like obsessed with the White Stripes, a lot of that kind of indie type of stuff, the indie genre. And as I've gotten older, um, a little bit less about the punk and hardcore side. I still have an appreciation for it, but I'm definitely kind of your indie girl through and through.
Oh, cool. I love I listened to the Souvenirs EP today, and I loved Hot Calls. It's a great song that is. I
Thank
love that.
you.
And I loved
It's
is it what
funny you say that because that was a song I almost did not send to the label. I was
oh
like,
really?
it's all right. I was like, it's just fine. Like, yeah, I don't know. I wasn't that fussed about it. And then that ended up being one of the label's favorite songs. So it's you're
Oh, I like
never
that
a
and Why
very good
Should I?
judge of
Why
your
Should
own
I is
music.
great as well.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely the rockier side of things.
Do you see when you're do you remember when the first sort of song you wrote that you thought I'm actually quite good at this, I might start doing it.
I don't think that's happened yet.
Yeah.
um, no, I mean, I because I had been in bands previously, like I'd had a little bit of experience songwriting, but this is my project. This is very much a solo project, and it was it was kind of almost like not by choice, if that makes sense. Um, when I was in my last band with Steph, it was a kind of a riff rock band called Lioness. And we did that for a couple years and we were starting to see like a little bit of traction with it. But again, we had lineup changes and then the pandemic happened and any progress we made just like completely halted. And by the time that we actually played a big festival, so we did the Hanwell Hootie, but we did the Hanwell Hootie, which is like West London. We did this festival, and we did it on a really big stage because it was Marshall's 60th anniversary, I believe. And we were fortunate to open up for bands like Hot Milk and Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes were headlining. So we got to kind of open for
Was
that.
it?
And that put us in front of Marshall Records in a way that we wouldn't have had the opportunity. So it opened up conversations for me. And when it boiled down to it, my husband had a big boy job at that point. So it became very clear to us that he wasn't going to be able to pursue music in the same way that he had when he was with Gallows. And if I wanted to expand upon the kind of songwriting I really wanted to do that was a lot more driven by melody and harmony and storytelling, that we kind of looked at each other and said, we're kind of cutting off the best parts of what we do. You know, we have overlap with this love of like just pure rock and roll, but he also verges much heavier than I do. And I verge an awful lot lighter than he does. So we kind of looked at each other and went, we're kind of cutting off these extreme ends of our creative expression. And we just decided that that was going to be the end of the old band and this was going to be the start of a solo project for me. So I don't know if I really went into it with a mission. I kind of went into it going, oh shit, there's an opportunity. What do I do? You know? And I still, to this day, will write something I'll get super excited about, like, oh my God, this is the best song that's ever been written. And then the next day you listen back to the voice note and you're like, what the fuck was I? This is terrible. Like, and you just go through these waves and these ups and these downs and these backs and these forths. But I think for me, I don't know if it is, I'm not really driven by like, is this good or not? Because it's so subjective. And I change my mind about whether I think something is good or not. But what it is like, is this me? Is this real? Is this honest? And if I hit those metrics, that's what is good for me, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. If I answered your question in a
Yeah,
roundabout way.
definitely. See how you were in bands as well. Did you struggle at first when you decided to go sort of solo? Because
Oh
you must get
yeah,
used to
I
the whole
was.
band thing.
And especially because for most of my sort of musical journey, I had worked with Steph. And he is a very decisive person. And he is a guitar player. That's his remit. I mean, he also does producing, mixing, mastering. That's kind of what his degree was in. So he was really the driver of a lot of it. And I would kind of come in and put my stuff on top. And that was a safety blanket for me. You know, there was a safety blanket in deferring to other people. Do you like this t-shirt design? What do you think we should do about this? Can you book this show? You know, there was some of it's just logistics. You don't have to do it all by yourself. But some of it is just the mental load of going, oh my God, every decision I have to make, from how loud the shaker is in the mix to like what song structure is going to be. Every decision falls back onto me. So there was a period of time where it was really hard and I really struggled with making all of those decisions. I think now, it's actually, I don't know if I could go back. I don't know if I could really go back to a more traditional band structure because I've so much adjusted to being the person who has the final say. And of course, like I always want my band to have their creative input. I want people to feel like they're contributing their own ideas and their own expertise. If I get a mix back, I'll have Steph listen to it. Can you just double check that? Put another set of ears on that. But it's been a huge point of growth for me, just as a human being, to be like, this is what I want, and I'm sure about that. And it's been a huge exercise in me getting over my perfectionism because, like, nothing's ever going to be perfect. You're going to
Yeah.
go back and go, oh, I should have changed that lyric, or maybe that could have used something here, or the set list didn't really work. And it, but it allows me a lot more grace in saying this is the process and this is the journey. And the only way you get better is to just do and to try things. And if you sit in that, is it right? Is it right? Is it right? Like nothing's ever going to be right. Nothing's ever going to be perfect. You just have to get to a point where you're like, yeah, I'm comfortable with this. I feel good about this.
I was going to ask you that as well, actually. When you put a song out, like, do you know when it's finished, or do you have to sort of accept that it's going to be that way?
Yeah, I mean, I think it feels like peace. There's a peaceful kind of feeling where you go, yeah, this is right. Like there's always something every single time I put a song out, I think, I could have changed that lyric, or I could have tweaked that mix slightly, or maybe I could have added or subtracted this. There's always something that I think you would change about it. But sometimes I'll just throw some music on in the car and one of my songs will come on and it'll be kind of quiet. I'm like, oh, that's a pretty song. And I'm like, wait, that's my song. Like, oh, okay, like I can vibe with it. And I think one of the tests for me, especially when I'm in that like mixing mastering phase, when you're making all of those little tweaks and decisions, is if I can just throw it on a speaker and like make dinner and nothing sticks out and I'm just like bopping along and I'm singing along to it, I'm like, yeah, this is good. Like this is done. This is the point where we release it into the world and we see what happens.
Does it give you anxiety when you put it out?
Oh, absolutely. The day it comes out, I'm like, like always, there's always anxiety with it, but I don't even really know why. Like, there's no, I'm fortunate in the way where there is no significant pressure. That's one of the beauties of being sort of an independent, unknown artist, is that it sucks because no one's paying attention. But on the other side, it's awesome because no one's paying attention. And you can kind of do what you want to do. You don't have to answer to a label. You don't have to answer to publishing. You don't have to answer to the general public who is pissed off because you've changed directions or something. You get to really just be in the this is what I want and not really have to worry that much about other people's opinions.
Independent seems to be the way now. Anyway, a lot of the bigger artists are starting to go independent now as well, aren't they? Like, it's a sense of freedom, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the reality of it is it's just it is getting so, so, so much harder to make this work. There's so much, there's a good and bad side of everything. It's amazing that now people can go out and buy recording equipment for next to nothing. They can figure out how to use Logic or Pro Tools or whatever DAW they want to use and make amazing music and put it up online. And they don't have to be in the industry to get their music heard and to even get to the point where they can build a career off the back of it. But also that means that there's a lot more noise. There's like
Yeah.
100,000 songs released every day. How do you cut through that? How do you cut through all of that? How do you cut through the algorithms? We just did a couple of shows this past weekend with an American band called Lakeview. They're awesome. They're like this really weird, and I say that in a good way, like this weird mix of like country and metal. It's super strange, but they've got their thing down. It's so cool. Really good guys, amazing performers. And we got to go out on a couple of dates with them, and we are massively in the hole just for two shows. Um, and it's tough, like it's tough to know where to put your money, where to put your time, your energy, attention when you don't have the industry backing to help you break through the noise or to help you fund all of the costs. But also, it's hard when you have to answer to people. It is really hard because it's not just about answering to people, it's that they have their own timelines, they have their own
Yeah, deadlines and
priorities.
things like that.
Yeah, or even just, something else is popping off, so we're going to push you back. This is going to go over here. And that can be challenging. But I think I'm really happy with where I am right now. I am independent at the moment and enjoying it. It's been great to just kind of get back to the root of why I want to do this in the first place.
How do you feel about the social media side of it? Because obviously that plays a bit of a part in it now as well, doesn't it? I don't like it, but it's a
Yeah.
thing. Yes.
Yeah, it's a thing. I mean, for me, like I'm also a visual artist, so I am a photographer as well. And so on one hand, the social media side of stuff can be fun because it's a visual expression of what your song is. There's this really fun, like you get to build a universe, you get to build a brand. Like I design all of my own merchandise, I do all of the visuals. I Every album cover you'll see is a photo I've taken and edited. Like
Oh, that's cool.
I actually quite enjoy the visual side of things. What I find challenging is the frequency, right? Just the sheer amount of time, energy, and effort spent to get stuff out and not really knowing what's going to hit. For a lot of people, it's there is no one formula. There's no one formula that just works or doesn't work, or this is going to be the thing that breaks you through. There's so much conflicting information from all of these like music industry experts on, Instagram and TikTok saying you should do this, no, you should do that, and post 4 times a day. No, only post high quality content. No, we don't want to see overly manufactured. You're like, what the hell? Like, I think that's part of it is just I don't really have an inherent problem with putting the effort in, like doing the hard work. But the hardest part is going, what's going to hit? What is going to break through the noise? What's going to reach those fans? How do you get to those people? How do you build a parasocial relationship? And it's like, oh my God, I don't know. Like it takes time. It takes lots of trial and error. For some people, it takes them years to kind of break that formula for themselves. So inherently, I think socials can be fun. I just I wish it wasn't a requirement. I wish it was like
Yeah.
an added thing, a bonus thing, kind of like, it is kind of like making lots of teeny tiny music videos.
Yeah, with
Making
TikTok,
music
I think
videos is
TikTok
fun.
sort of changed the way artists
Yeah.
look at releasing songs.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people are now doing this thing where they'll tease maybe two or three songs and then decide which one of those songs has performed best on social media, and that's the one they're going to release. But that also requires a lot of forethought. That requires you to have multiple songs mixed, mastered, ready to go, or at least demoed enough that they sound complete on your phone. So it is running an entire business. And for me, fortunately, I've been kind of freelance in a multitude of areas. I've done coaching, I've done branding work, I've done photography work. I've been fully freelance for about 6 years, so I understand all the different components of running a business. But I think the hardest part is saying, oh, yeah, this is about the music. I actually got to go write some songs now. Otherwise, I don't have a product. And it's
Yeah.
like, and I don't want it to feel like a product. I want it to feel natural and easy.
Yeah, you've got to feel like you still love it as well, don't you? As well, you don't want to.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part about playing live? Because I'd love to feel that buzz of something like singing to people with, but my voice is horrendous.
We just need to get you screaming. I think that's
Yeah,
that's the
yeah, that's
gist.
maybe my next
Um,
day. I'll play some Limp Bizkit.
yeah, exactly. Oh God, it's hard. Like some shows are really good and really fun, and you feel really jazzed for it, and like the sound is good and the crowd is good. Um, but we haven't gotten to that point yet where we've got people singing our songs back to us. That I think if I had to say from a live perspective, like that's the dream, to have a room full of people, whether that's 100 people, 1,000 people, 100,000 people at a festival. You want those people to be there because they've connected with your music. So on a very good show, that's the best part of it. When you have connection with people, when people are bopping along and they're kind of getting into it. And our generally our closing song is a song called Sweet Honey, which has a very easy chorus to
I love
sing,
that
so I'll
song. I've
see
got that song written
people
down. That was one of the
singing.
ones I love.
It's one of my favorites. So it's a very easy chorus, so it kind of gives you that little moment. But some live shows are also just really hard. You're playing to like four people who are not interested in being there, and in those moments, those are the points where I go, okay, I'm with my band. I love these people. We're having fun. Even if it's hard, we're still enjoying each other. We get to make eye contact, look at each other, laugh a little, just enjoy it. And it's a time that for that 30 minutes, you can't think about anything else. And as a person who's an overthinker, a worrier, a perfectionist, that is freedom. When you're on stage, because even if your mind wanders, because inevitably it does, you'll think about that bum note that you hit, or you'll stumble over a word, or you'll, fuck your mic stand up, or, something will happen. And you'll think about that for a second, but you have to get right back on it. You cannot be anywhere else. So on the tougher shows, I think it's the ability to be really present and enjoy this experience with people I love. On the great shows, it's really that connection with the audience. And, that's what you hope for. That's what you strive for, that somebody walks away going, that was cool. I had an amazing time. This was super fun. I want to come see you again because I enjoyed being with you. And there is that sense of community and connection in live shows.
That's cool. I suppose with the lesser shows as well, it's a good time to practice your craft as well. There's no one really there
Exactly.
to judge you. You can let loose a
Yeah,
bit more.
the pressure is gone. The pressure, you're just like, okay, this is a very expensive way to practice. But you're right. Like every show, whether you're playing to, because I played some shows more with my previous bands. One time we drove all the way up to Scotland, played in Edinburgh to the other band and the sound engineer, and that was just, whew, that was tough work.
Yeah.
Those are the shows you go, why the hell am I doing this? But you still, again, this is where you turn to your band and you go, we're in it together, and we're all going to have a great story by the end of this.
Yeah, just get drunk and enjoy it.
Exactly.
Is there anything that you've learned about the music industry now that sort of nobody told you when you first started?
Ugh, that's a tough one. I mean, I think I'm a very privileged person. For as small of an artist as I am extremely well connected in the industry. My husband was in Gallows. Um, he currently works for Marshall, so we're constantly around bands of very big ilks. I was backstage hanging out with Lizzie Hale a couple weeks ago. Like weird, it's just weird, weird stuff.
Yeah.
You're like, what is my life? What am I doing? My brother-in-law is in the Sex Pistols. Like I'm a very strange person when it comes to the level of artist I am, but the access to the kinds of artists that I have. So I think that the biggest challenge for me over the last couple of years, especially because I started this band in a really strange way, generally bands don't start being a band when they've signed a record deal, right? Usually you're a band for a while, few years, you play lots of shows, you develop your sound, you release some stuff, you build even just a little bit of an audience, and then you get picked up by somebody in the industry. It might be a manager, it might be a record label, it might be a booking agent. You're going to start to get those industry contacts. Mine was quite the opposite. I was approached by a label, then presented demos, then signed a deal, then released music. That's not the normal way to do it. And I think in some ways I was expecting more to happen more quickly. Um I was expecting that was going to be a huge step up. And I'm not saying that it wasn't a great opportunity, but I think I misunderstood and underestimated how much grafting you really have to do, especially in that social media realm,
Yeah.
and how long it really takes to develop your sound and your brand and your like rhythm, right? Like this summer, the rest of summer, we have no more shows. Um, because I need to focus on writing. I've got a song that's going to come out in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to really focus on the releasing of that song and I'm going to focus on songwriting because I can't do it all. So it's that rhythm of, okay, now is a songwriting season. Now is a releasing season. Now we're going into the studio. Let's try and play some more shows. It's keeping that momentum going, but still knowing you have a baseline of just grafting and grafting and grafting. And to be clear, I did not expect like overnight success either. It's just it's it moves so much slower in these early days than I was expecting. And I think that's the challenge because I'm ready to go. I'm like, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. But it takes a while for you to develop your sound, for you to develop your brand, for you to develop your cadence. And then it takes a different amount of time for the general public to go, oh, there's something kind of cool here. Oh, this is kind of interesting, and to start building that fan base organically. So I think it's that even if you have industry support, even if you have that manager or that booking agent or that record label, that honestly, the majority of the hard grafting is still back on you as the artist or as the band.
Oh, cool, man. So what's next for the band then? Is you just gonna pump out tunes and tour a bit?
Yeah, so I think, like I said, we're going to take the summer to just, we've got a song coming out on the 3rd of July, which I'm very excited about. Um, and then we're really not going to do any more shows over summer. Everybody's on holiday. They're all on holiday. Bastards. But this is actually a perfect opportunity for me to just kind of really get into the groove of writing, revisit old songs that never quite got the attention, like go back through my like hundreds of voice notes that are all just like voice note 292. I'm like, what the hell is that? Um, so summer for me, this is a great opportunity to just kind of like literally go touch some grass, go hang out with some friends, go to a couple festivals and just write, kind of get into that mode of like, I know where I want to go now. I've put out music. I've got a better idea of where I want to go next. So we've got a couple of songs in the pipeline. Another song will come out probably September, October. Probably have another release in January. Those are kind of all in the pipeline, kind of ready to go. Um, and that's going to be the main focus. That's kind of what we've got coming up. We've got some releases. We'll probably start gigging again in the fall. Um, and then we're just going to see what happens and go from there. Get back into the studio, take some of the songs that we're writing, get them recorded, and see where 2027 takes us.
Oh, wicked, man. That's love it. I love it. That's it, really, man. That was wicked. I enjoyed that.
Awesome. Well,
Thanks
thank
for
you so
doing it.
much.